When you open your mouth, you open the gates of your destiny. Every word you speak is a seed, and the universe is listening with full attention. So today, speak wealth boldly, fearlessly, unapologetically. Speak it until the very vibration of your voice rearranges the atmosphere around you. Speak wealth because your words carry the blueprint of your future. If you want to rise, your language must rise first. If you want abundance, your declarations must overflow with certainty. Wealth is not summoned by whispers of fear, but by the thunder of faith. Live wealth because prosperity is not a destination. It is a posture. It is the way you think in the morning, the way you walk through your day, the way you see yourself when no one else is watching. Live as though what you want is already here. Live as though the door is already open. Live as though the miracle has already entered your life. When you live in this state of expectancy, opportunities rush toward you, doors unlock for you, and blessings gather around you. Not because you chase them, but because you aligned with them. Become wealth, because true prosperity is not something you get. It is something you embody. When you see yourself as worthy, wealth recognizes you. When you carry the energy of abundance, it moves toward you. When you stand tall in your divine identity, lack loses its voice, and limitation loses its power. Your words are not just sounds released into the air. They are commands issued to the universe. Instructions carved into the unseen, declarations that ripple across the very fabric of your reality. To understand wealth, you must first understand the extraordinary creative power of your speech. Every phrase you repeat, every belief you reinforce, every sentence you speak with emotion becomes a magnetic force that draws matching experiences into your life. When you speak lack, you invite lack. When you speak fear, you energize fear. And when you speak wealth, boldly, consistently, and confidently, you begin constructing the invisible architecture of abundance long before it appears in your world. Most people do not realize that their life is echoing the language they use. They complain about not having enough money while confessing statements like "I'm always broke." "Nothing good ever happens for me," or "life is hard." These words, soaked in frustration and limitation, become self-fulfilling prophecies. The universe simply responds as you wish. Your speech is not passive. It is active, creative, and powerful. More powerful than circumstances, more powerful than history, more powerful than any moment of struggle. When you begin to shift your language, you shift your destiny. Speaking wealth is not about pretending, nor is it empty optimism. It is a spiritual and psychological reset that rewires your inner world. By choosing words that affirm abundance, money flows to me easily. I am open to limitless opportunities. I deserve success. My life is filled with prosperity. You begin transmitting a new signal into the world. That signal has substance. It has weight. It attracts people, resources, ideas, and opportunities that match its frequency. Imagine your words as seeds. Some people scatter seeds of scarcity every day without realizing it. They plant them with phrases rooted in doubt or fear, and then they wonder why their harvest never improves. But when you deliberately plant seeds of wealth through affirmations, declarations, and empowering speech, you cultivate an entirely different reality. The soil of your life begins to change. The atmosphere around you shifts. Wealth, in its many forms, starts gravitating toward you because you have given it permission to enter. Speaking wealth also transforms your internal identity. The words you repeat consistently become beliefs, and beliefs determine action. When your speech becomes abundant, your choices become abundant. You begin to make decisions that align with growth rather than survival. You take steps with confidence rather than hesitation. You walk through doors you once thought were closed to you. You stop shrinking and start expanding, because your language has raised the ceiling of what you believe is possible. You do not need to see wealth to speak it. You speak it so you can see it. That is the essence of creative power. Your words pave the path before your feet ever touch it. And when you choose wealth in your speech, wealth begins choosing you in your life. Wealth is not something you chase through exhaustion, desperation, or endless striving. It is something that flows to you when your inner world is aligned with the truth that abundance is your natural state. Many people spend their entire lives running after money, opportunities, and success, believing that the harder they push, the more they will gain. But true wealth does not come from pushing. It comes from aligning. When your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and expectations are in harmony with prosperity, wealth begins to move toward you with ease, grace, and surprising speed. Think of wealth as a river. When you are out of alignment, filled with fear, doubt, or worry, you are standing upstream, pushing against the current. Everything feels heavy, every step feels difficult, every opportunity seems just out of reach. But when you align with abundance, when your inner dialogue supports the truth that you are worthy, capable, and connected to a limitless source, you step into the flow. Suddenly, the river carries you. Suddenly, things begin to work for you instead of against you. Alignment begins in the mind. Wealth requires a mindset that sees possibility instead of limitation. When you believe that opportunities are scarce, that success is for others, or that life is stacked against you, you block the flow of abundance through the force of your own belief. But when you shift your inner perspective, when you begin to think in terms of expansion, growth, and divine provision, you create mental space for prosperity to enter. The mind becomes a magnet instead of a barrier, yet the mind is only part of the equation. Wealth also requires emotional alignment. You cannot build an abundant life while carrying resentment, fear, jealousy, or anxiety about money. These emotions signal the universe that you expect struggle, and the universe responds in kind. Emotional alignment means cultivating gratitude, trust, and a calm expectancy that what you desire is on its way. It means choosing peace over panic, confidence over doubt, and joy over fear. When your emotional state matches the feeling of abundance, you naturally attract circumstances that reflect that feeling. Beliefs form the foundation of your inner alignment. Many people hold limiting beliefs rooted in childhood, past experiences, or cultural conditioning. Money is hard. Wealth is dangerous. Rich people are selfish. I don't deserve more. These hidden beliefs sabotage prosperity even when you consciously want it. As long as your beliefs contradict your desires, wealth cannot stay. But when you replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones, I am worthy of success. Money supports my purpose. Abundance is safe. Prosperity flows to me effortlessly. You shift the very structure of your inner reality. When your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs unite, your outer life begins to mirror this harmony. You recognize opportunities you once overlooked. You take inspired actions you once avoided. You make decisions based not on fear, but on clarity. The right people appear. The right ideas emerge. The right timing unfolds. Wealth stops being something distant or difficult and becomes a natural expression of who you are. Alignment is the doorway. When the inside is right, the outside follows. Wealth cannot resist a spirit that is fully aligned with its truth. Your imagination is the silent architect of every experience you will ever live. Long before wealth appears in your hands, it is constructed in the unseen chambers of your mind. What you visualize repeatedly, emotionally, and with conviction becomes the blueprint that the universe follows. Every great creation, every home, invention, business, fortune began first as an image in someone's imagination. The same power lies within you. When you dare to imagine abundance, you ignite the creative machinery of your destiny. Your inner world begins forming the images, emotions, and beliefs that eventually solidify into physical reality. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the most potent spiritual tool you possess. It speaks in pictures, and the universe responds to pictures far more powerfully than to words alone. When you imagine yourself wealthy, when you see it, feel it, and embody it, you are imprinting a new pattern on your subconscious mind. This pattern becomes a magnet, drawing the resources, people, opportunities, and ideas needed to manifest the vision. The subconscious does not argue, question, or resist imagery that is fed to it with emotion. It simply accepts and begins arranging your life to match the inner film you are playing. Most people misuse this power without realizing it. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They rehearse failure. They see obstacles instead of outcomes. They replay moments of lack, disappointment, or fear so vividly that their imagination becomes a breeding ground for scarcity. And life, obedient and neutral, reflects it back to them. But when you take control of this inner theater, when you deliberately fill it with scenes of abundance, success, prosperity, and ease, you shift the entire direction of your life. You stop living by default and start living by design. Imagination does not require evidence. It requires willingness. You do not need to know how wealth will come. That is not your work. Your work is to picture the end result with such clarity that it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. When your inner vision becomes stronger than your external reality, the universe begins bending circumstances to match your mental image. Suddenly, ideas appear out of nowhere. Suddenly, people show up at the right moment. Suddenly, opportunities align with uncanny precision. This is not coincidence. It is creation. The images you hold must also be consistent. A vision cannot grow roots if it is constantly torn up by doubt. The more you nurture the picture of your desired future, the more power you give it. Imagination thrives on repetition. It grows through emotion. It expands through faith. When you imagine wealth in a way that lights a fire in your spirit, you awaken a force within you far greater than logic or effort. Your imagination is the preview of your prosperity. It is the doorway through which your wealth enters. When you picture abundance clearly, consistently, and boldly, you are not dreaming. You are building. And the moment you realize that your inner vision is the true origin of your outer reality, you will stop waiting for wealth to appear and begin creating it from within. Fear is the greatest thief of wealth, and it steals more dreams than failure ever could. Doubt is its closest companion, whispering lies that make even the strongest spirit question its own potential. Limitation is the silent cage that keeps people trapped in lives smaller than what they were created for. These three, fear, doubt, and limitation, do not come from the world outside. They arise from within, shaping your choices, weakening your confidence, and blocking the flow of prosperity that is rightfully yours. Every time you hesitate because you are afraid, every time you shrink back because you doubt your ability, every time you tell yourself that you cannot go further, you are handing your power to these invisible robbers, and yet they only have the authority you give them. Most people believe their lack of wealth comes from the economy, their upbringing, or the difficulties around them. But the true barrier is internal. A person can be surrounded by opportunities, but if fear rules their mind, they will never reach out for them. A person can be gifted with ideas that could change their life, but if doubt clouds their vision, those ideas will be dismissed before they ever have a chance to grow. A person can stand in front of a door that leads to abundance, but if limitation fills their thinking, they will assume the door is locked even when it stands wide open. The real work of attracting wealth begins by confronting these inner enemies and stripping them of the power they have been given. Fear, when left unchallenged, becomes a dictator. It rewrites your identity, telling you that you are not capable, not worthy, not ready. It disguises itself as caution, responsibility, or realism, but beneath its mask lies the same message: stay small. Yet fear cannot survive the light of awareness. The moment you face it directly, it weakens. The moment you speak truth louder than fear's lies, it begins to dissolve. Wealth requires courage, not reckless action, but the courage to believe that something greater is possible for you. Doubt is more subtle, but just as destructive. It keeps you second, guessing every idea, every decision, every step forward. Doubt makes you postpone your dreams until the right time, not realizing that the perfect time will never arrive. When doubt controls your thinking, you see obstacles where others see opportunities. You interpret challenges as signs to stop instead of signs to grow. But doubt can be defeated by clarity. When you become clear about who you are, what you deserve, and what you are capable of creating, doubt loses its ability to manipulate your choices. Limitation is the final thief, and it shapes the size of your life. It convinces you that the best you can do is what you have already done. It tells you that abundance is for other people. It binds you to the familiar and makes expansion feel dangerous. But limitation is nothing more than a learned belief, a belief that can be unlearned. When you challenge your limits, when you decide that your past will not define your future, when you dare to step beyond what is comfortable, you reclaim the power that limitation once held over you. When fear, doubt, and limitation fall away, the path to wealth becomes clear. The opportunity was always there. The potential was always there. The abundance was always waiting. It is your inner freedom that unlocks it. Wealth is not something you wait for, hope for, or chase with desperation. It is something you embody, something you step into with intention, awareness, and identity. The moment you begin to live as though the wealth you desire is already yours, you send a powerful signal to the universe, a signal that you are ready, aligned, and available for abundance. Becoming wealth means shifting from wanting to being, from wishing to knowing, from hoping to living. This shift is not external. It begins deep within your mindset, your behaviors, and the energy you carry throughout your daily life. Most people believe they must first achieve wealth before they can feel wealthy. They wait for their bank account to grow before they allow themselves to think prosperously, act confidently, or dream boldly. But the truth is the opposite. Your identity must rise before your reality can follow. If you continue to think like someone who lacks, worry like someone who fears, and behave like someone who doubts, you will remain in the same cycle regardless of how many opportunities pass your way. The outer world cannot elevate until your inner world elevates first. To become wealth, you must think, speak, and carry yourself as someone who is already abundant. Living wealth is not about pretending or being unrealistic. It is about stepping into the mindset of abundance, the mindset that says, I am capable, I am worthy, and I am supported. When you adopt this identity, your actions automatically shift. You stop shrinking from opportunities and begin stepping toward them. You stop settling for less and start demanding more from life. You stop viewing challenges as threats and start seeing them as stepping stones. Your decisions become larger, bolder, wiser, and more aligned with the life you desire. Becoming wealth also means adopting habits that reflect abundance. Wealthy people think differently. They invest in themselves. They take care of their energy. They protect their time. They surround themselves with ideas, conversations, and environments that elevate them. They prepare for success before success arrives. When you begin to build these habits, even in small ways, you signal your readiness for greater things. Your lifestyle becomes a reflection of the wealth you are calling into your life. Identity is powerful. When you repeatedly affirm, visualize, and live from a place of abundance, the world responds. Doors that were once invisible begin to appear. People who can elevate your life begin to find you. Ideas that once seemed out of reach begin to flow effortlessly. Becoming wealth is not about waiting for external change. It is about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts wealth through energy, belief, resilience, and vision. The universe mirrors your internal state, and when your identity aligns with prosperity, prosperity is compelled to align with you. When you walk, speak, and think like someone who knows their future is abundant, you shift the very frequency of your life. You create space for blessings to land. You create room for miracles to unfold. You create a container strong enough to hold the wealth that is coming. Wealth does not simply belong to those who desire it. It belongs to those who have already become it in spirit, in mind, and in identity. When you carry abundance within, abundance must eventually appear without. In the end, everything you seek, every dream of abundance, every vision of prosperity, every desire for a life overflowing with joy and possibility begins within you. Wealth is not a distant prize reserved for the fortunate. It is a state of being, a way of speaking, thinking, imagining, and living that you choose every single day. When your words align with abundance, when your mind opens to possibility, when your imagination builds the life you desire, and when fear, doubt, and limitation lose their power over you, you step into a new identity, one that wealth recognizes instantly. You are not walking toward prosperity. You are awakening to the truth that it has always belonged to you. When you speak wealth, you command it. When you live wealth, you attract it. When you become wealth, you embody the power that transforms your entire reality.